I got three things to talk about in this video. So this is a little bit of housekeeping, but one of them is a review. Well, actually two reviews and some new books and what I'm going to read next. So quite a lot going on here, but it shouldn't take long. I'll keep this short. So to get right into it, what I'm reading right now, I've just started reading Project Hail Mary. And hopefully I can get Emily to read this too, and we'll do a review of this. What I've read about, I've never read anything by Andy Weir yet. Haven't read The Martian, haven't seen the movie. So I'm reading this completely fresh, no experience with Andy Weir before. But I've heard nothing but good things about this book. So I wanted to try it, and it happens to be the selection for month of July for Samantha's science fiction and fantasy book club. So I'm reading that. Got some new books in, one of which is another to my H.G. Wells collection, Marriage. Not the greatest copy of it. I mean, I like the blue. I love blue. I like the blue. But if you look, the book is kind of bowed. It's got some spots. Otherwise, it's in pretty good condition. It's not yellowed much. And it's not a first edition. The book was published in 1912 originally. This is a 1917 copy. But I love the blue in the photograph, and the price was right. So I thought, why not? A little disappointed by it, though. Maybe I should have just gone after the first edition, because that has some really nice typography. Another new book is a new book, relatively. Ariadne. This one, I got the UK edition because this cover, I think, is much nicer than the US edition. And this is one of a number of books that have been published in the last couple of years where authors have rewritten stories from Greek mythology. Now, I'm a big fan of Greek mythology, very interested in it, so I thought, what the hell, I should give one of these books a try. I heard good things about Ariadne. A couple others that have recently been published are, there's one on Circe, and there's the Sword of Achilles. If I like this one, maybe I'll try the others too. But I just got that one this past week. And then one, The Cosmic Courtship. This book is by Julian Hawthorne, who is the son of Nathaniel Hawthorne. He actually wrote he wrote a number of different novels, some of which were science fiction and fantasy. And these were written around World War I, so these are proto-science fiction, really. This was probably kind of inspired by Edgar Rice Burroughs. It was written around that time, I think 1914. And this particular book comes from Cursiva Publishing, which launched a Kickstarter campaign, which I contributed to. I'm a backer of their Kickstarter, and I got the book as a result. So this just came in. I'm looking forward to reading that. So on to my reviews. I buddy read with Samantha, The Sea Lady by H.G. Wells. This was the next book back to my original reading of H.G. Wells in chronological order. The Sea Lady was the next to be read. So I read this fairly short book. I mean, this looks thick, but you look at the pages, there's not a lot of text on each page. And it's a smaller size book than what we publish today. But this is the first U.S. edition of The Sea Lady, and I got the U.S. edition because the cover is so much more beautiful than the British edition, which it's usually the other way around, and that's why I got Ariadne in the British editions, because the cover is so much nicer on that. Anyway, I read The Sea Lady, and I read a short story, which is the next fiction piece Wells published, called Mr. Skelmersdale in Fairyland. Both stories are kind of fantasies. Both stories kind of focus on the danger of living in a fantasy world and not taking care of reality. In both cases, there are characters who are drawn into the fantasy world and they prefer it to their reality, and so they in the Sea Lady, of course, she's a siren. He follows her into the ocean. We all know how that goes. It's a traditional siren story. But Wells takes it like he does everything back then. He takes it and makes it a more contemporary issue out of it, of how people need to attend to their daily lives, attend to their real world, and not follow a fantasy to their deaths. I'm personally not so sure that. I take care of my details in the real world, but the real world is pretty dull. The fantasies are a lot more fun. So I like my fantasies. But anyway, in Mr. Skelmersdale, the character doesn't die, but he comes back from fairyland and he's just disappointed with his life. And Wells is kind of making that same point in both of these stories. For that reason, they're very good stories. They are kind of unexpected because we all know of H.G. Wells as this science fiction writer, spinning these visions of the future, these fantastical stories, and, invasions from Mars and invisible men and scientific experiments on islands. And we know H.G. Wells for that total fantastical theme in his best loved books. And so we don't expect him to come out against the idea of spending time on your fantasies. We expect him to be all for that whole idea. But they're both very powerful stories, as they're very much like any of Wells's best works. So I give this one 5 stars. I feel it is a top tale. And same with Mr. Skelmersdale. It's an amazing short story, one of his best. And I'm going to stop with that. Tell you to go and read The Sea Lady, go and read Mr. Skelmersdale on Fairyland. Pick up Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Read these books. Not so sure about Hail Mary, but I can guarantee you Sea Lady and Mr. Skelmersdale are awesome stories. If you're liking the other H.G. Wells I've been talking about, I think you'll like these books. You just have to remember they're not science fiction, they're fantasy. There's no aliens, there's no time machines, there's no invisibility formulas, there's no other dimensions. The science fictional stuff is out of these. They are fantasies. Kind of like if you've read The Wonderful Visit, The Sea Lady is kind of along those lines. Excellent books. And till next time, I've kept this pretty short. I'm proud of that. We've been getting way too long in our videos. So we'll see you again. Bye.